What's up, Nerd Herd? Let's start with a headline that got everyone's attention this week. Reports started circulating that Samsung memory prices could jump as much as 80%. That's not a small adjustment. That's the kind of number that makes PC builders panic. OEM freeze orders and consumers wonder if they should buy RAM and SSDs immediately. But here's the tension, and not referring to, Anyways, Samsung has denied implementing an across-the-board 80% increase. So now we're left with a confusing situation. Distributors talking about massive hikes, Samsung saying that numbers is not official, and a memory market that's clearly tightening anyways. So today, I'm going to try to break this down slowly and piece by piece, because I do want to go with what's confirmed, what's being reported, and the logical interference. So it took me a while to gather this information, so I hope you enjoy this video. So let's go over the most important part, what this actually means for price, availability, and consumer choice over the next year. So let's start with some facts. The original claim came from an industry reporting picked by outlets like WCCF Tech. The report cited distributor communications suggesting that Samsung-linked memory products could see a price increase of up to 80%. Now, here's some key details. This was not an official Samsung press release. It was an allegedly distributor-level pricing guidance. Now, shortly after the story spread, Samsung responded and refuted the idea of a blanket 80% increase across all memory products. So we have two things that are simultaneously true here. Distributors are signaling higher prices. Samsung says that 80% figure is inaccurate. Now, that tells us the headline number is not a confirmed corporate policy. So let me go over what the memory market actually looks like right now. Let's talk about industry as a whole, because this part matters the most, I believe, than the headline. The memory market runs in cycles: boom, bust, correction, repeat. Over the last couple of years, memory manufacturers cut production aggressively. Prices collapsed due to oversupply, and margins went in the negative in some segments. In response, companies like Samsung, Micron, they just pulled back capacity. And at the same time, demand didn't disappear, it shifted. AI servers, data centers, and high-density enterprise facilities, they now consume far more DRAM than the unit did for consumers. This creates a classic supply and demand squeeze. If consumer demand is flat, if supply is tighter and higher margin customers are prioritized, prices rise. This is not speculative. This is how commodity markets behave. But let me go over why distributors matter more than you think, because here's, I think, where things get a little misunderstood. Samsung doesn't sell most memory directly to consumers. They sell to OEMs, system integrators, distributors. Distributors already operate on thin margins. When they sense tightening supply or an upstream price, it increases and they move early. Not because they're evil, but because they don't want to get stuck with selling yesterday's inventory prices. Think of it like gasoline futures. If wholesalers think refinery output is tightening, prices move before the shortening hits the pump. So when distributors talk about aggressive hikes, that doesn't mean Samsung flipped the switch overnight. It means expectations are shifting. And in commodity markets, expectations alone can move prices. Let's do some simple math. If a DRAM module costs a distributor $100 to make, a 10% increase adds $10. A 30% increase adds $30. But an 80% increase? That's $180. Here's the key point. Memory pricing is not uniform. Some SKUs, they do rise sharply. Others barely move. Enterprise and high density parts rise faster than consumer SKUs. So when you hear up to 80%, that likely means a narrow set of products in a constrained supply with strong enterprise demand. Not every DDR5 stick at Micro Center doubling overnight. That distinction often gets lost online everywhere. Let me address a few questions that I saw online. Is Samsung lying? Well, in my opinion, unlikely. public companies don't casually mislead markets on that kind of pricing. Are distributors price gouging? I've seen that a lot. Some may be front-running increases, but that's typical in commodity cycles. Is this another GPU style shortage? Well, no. Memory manufacturing is far more scalable than GPUs, and competition still exists. Here's a good one. Should I panic buy RAM and SSDs? There's no evidence supporting panic behavior right now. Prices may trend upward, but that's not the same as sudden unavailability. So what does this mean for us, the consumers? Here's a practical impact. Let me go over short-term, medium-term, long-term. Short-term, gradual price increases on SSDs and RAM. More volatile on high-capacity parts. On the medium term, we can see fewer aggressive shortages with configurations at the same price. Now, long term, memory prices stabilize once supply catches up, as it always does in the industry. So no apocalypse, no overnight doubling, but also no return to rock bottom prices anytime soon. That's what I think. So I think the real story isn't an 80% number. I think the real story here is that the memory market is tightening. Yes. The AI and enterprise demand are reshaping priorities. Yes. And pricing power is shifting back to manufacturers. Samsung denying a blanket hike doesn't mean prices won't rise. It means the situation is more nuanced than the headline suggests. Well, if you understand tech markets, this is the lesson. Ignore the biggest number. Follow the incentive. Let me know if you found this useful. I've done some heavy research for this, but if you enjoyed this, even as speculative or as entertainment, consider subscribing. I try to focus on separating the hype from mechanics, especially when these type of headlines, they get crazy and loud. Anyways, thanks for watching. Nerd Herd out.